I didn't realize my hands were shaking until I tried to make a fist and couldn't. That's how this really started. Not with destiny. Not with prophecy. With a grown man standing in the most secure chamber ever built, staring at his own fingers like they belonged to someone else, thinking, get it together. You're embarrassing yourself. The door sealed behind me with a sound so soft it was worse than a slam. A gentle hiss. Final. The kind of noise that says no one is coming to interrupt this. I swallowed hard. My mouth was dry. My heart was doing that stupid thing where it beats too fast and too loud, like it's trying to escape first. Across the room stood the alien queen. Not a hologram. Not a broadcast image polished by propaganda. Her. In the flesh. Taller than me. Straighter. Like the room itself had been built around her instead of the other way around. I'd seen her 1,000 times on screens. Calm. Untouchable. Perfect. Up close as she wasn't perfect. She was breathing faster than she should have been. That detail hit me sideways. Stuck in my brain where it didn't belong. The most powerful being in the galaxy, ruler of systems I couldn't even pronounce, standing there with her shoulders just a fraction too tight, jaw set like she was holding something back, fear maybe, or worse, expectation. This chamber is isolated, she said, her voice smooth, controlled, echoing just enough to remind me how small I was here. No transmission, leaves without my consent. Good to know, I thought even as my pulse jumped. I nodded because words weren't cooperating yet. She studied me the way you look at something fragile you don't trust yourself to touch. Slowly. Carefully, like one wrong move might break it. Or her. You are aware, she continued, that this has never been attempted. Yeah, I said. My voice cracked. I hated that. Cleared my throat and tried again. I read the brief. That was a lie. I skimmed it. Mostly the parts about survival odds and legal liability. The rest felt too big to absorb. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Not suspicious. Assessing. My advisors believe this union will either redefine interspecies relations, she paused, just long enough for my stomach to drop, or end them. There it was. I laughed, not because it was funny, because sometimes your body does stupid things when the alternative is panic. Gwist no pressure then, I said. For a split second, one tiny treasonous second, her lips twitched. It vanished almost immediately, but I saw it, and that scared me more than her cold stare ever could have, because it meant she was human enough, person enough, to react. She took one step forward. My instincts screamed at me to step back. I didn't trust my legs to cooperate anyway. I have bred only through sanctioned genetic rights, she said. No emotion, no direct contact, no risk. Her gaze dropped just briefly to my chest, my hands, my face. This, she said quietly, is different. The air felt heavier. Not physically, emotionally, like the room was leaning in, curious. I shifted my weight, suddenly hyper-aware of everything, how I stood, how I breathed, the way my heart wouldn't slow down no matter how hard I tried. Your people think humans are unstable, I said carefully. They do, she agreed. And you, I asked. What do you think? That question shouldn't have come out of my mouth. I knew it the second I said it. You don't ask a queen what she thinks, you wait for what she decides. Her eyes locked onto mine. For a long moment, she said nothing. I wondered if I'd just crossed some invisible line that got people quietly erased from history. Then she exhaled. I think, she said slowly, that humans are dangerous. My stomach sank, because you bond without certainty. She continued, you choose without guarantees. You act as if loss is acceptable. She took another step closer, and that terrifies civilizations built on control. I felt that in my bones. Does it terrify you? I asked. Her answer came too fast. Yes! The word hit harder than any insult ever could. My chest tightened. Not fear this time. Understanding, I nodded. Yeah, same. Something shifted between us then. Not attraction, not trust, recognition. She turned slightly, gesturing toward the center of the chamber where faint lines of light traced a circle on the floor. Medical fields, sensors, safeguards stacked on safeguards. Once you step forward, she said, this process begins. There will be no interruption. I stared at the circle. This is it, my brain whispered. You can still walk away, but that was a lie. I knew it. We both did. What happens if it works? I asked. Her jaw tightened. My bloodline survives. My empire gains leverage. Humanity is reconsidered. And me. She looked at me again, really looked. You will never be ordinary again, she said. I snorted softly. Wasn't doing great at that anyway. And if it fails? I asked. Silence, the honest kind. Then, she said at last, history will remember this moment as a mistake. I rubbed my hands together, feeling the tremor there. Took a slow breath. Thought about Earth. About being human. About how we keep stepping forward even when every instinct tells us not to. Can I ask you something? I said. She nodded once. You may. This, I said, gesturing vaguely between us, is this really what you want? That question landed like a dropped glass. Her posture stiffened. Her breathing faltered just barely, but enough that I saw it. No one asked her that. Not advisors, not councils, not entire planets built to obey her. She turned away, walking to the transparent barrier at the edge of the chamber. Beyond it, I could see faint silhouettes, observers pretending not to exist. For my entire life, she said, her voice quieter now, my body has belonged to my people. She rested a hand against the barrier. My choices have been strategies. My future an asset? She looked back at me. This is the first decision I have made that frightens me. My heart thudded painfully. I didn't try to be brave. Didn't try to sound noble. I'm scared too, I said. I just hide it worse. That did it. She laughed. Not loudly. Not regally. A soft, surprised sound, like it escaped before she could stop it. Her eyes widened immediately after, like she couldn't believe she'd made it. I smiled without thinking. The room seemed to exhale. Step forward, she said. I did. The lights dimmed. Systems awakened. A low hum filled the chamber, vibrating through my chest, through my bones. She faced me now, close enough that I could see every detail, the subtle color shifts in her skin, the tension in her jaw, the focus in her eyes. This is not merely an experiment, she said. It is a choice. She raised her hand, hesitated, then lowered it. No, she said softly. Not yet. She met my gaze, something raw breaking through the queenly mask. Once this begins, she whispered, there will be no pretending it meant nothing. I nodded. And in that moment, before the first system fully engaged, before the galaxy leaned in to watch, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever happened next wasn't just going to shock everyone. It was going to change us both forever. The circle of light beneath my feet hummed softly, like it was alive. Not loud, not dramatic, just persistent. A reminder that the floor itself knew more about what was about to happen than I did. The queen stood just outside the circle, close enough that I could feel her presence, pressure, heat, gravity, whatever you want to call it, but far enough that there was still a line between us. A boundary. One she hadn't crossed yet. I realized my breathing was off, too shallow, too fast. I forced myself to slow it down, counting in my head like I used to do before high-risk drops. In for 4, hold, out for 6. Didn't help much. You are attempting to regulate fear, she said. I blinked. Is it that obvious? Yes, she replied calmly. Your species leaks emotion through micro-expressions, through posture, through breath. Great, I muttered. So much for poker faces. She tilted her head slightly, studying me again, not like a ruler this time, but like a scientist trying to understand a malfunctioning instrument. You remain? She said. Despite fear. Yeah? I said. That's kind of our thing. Her gaze lingered. I could tell she was running probabilities in her head, outcomes, risk matrices, the kind of calculations that decide wars, lives, civilizations, and yet she hadn't told me to step back. Instead, she stepped forward, 1 foot entered the circle. The hum deepened. Not louder, closer. Like the sound had moved inside my chest. I felt it in my teeth, in my spine. My heart stuttered, then adjusted, like it was sensing to something new. Her eyes flicked to a floating display to her left. Number spiked. Colors shifted. Physiological alignment has begun, she said quietly. That sounds important, I said. It is, she replied. And irreversible once it stabilizes. I swallowed. My throat felt tight. You're not exactly selling this. She met my eyes again. I will not deceive you. That mattered more than I expected. She stepped fully into the circle. The room reacted instantly. Lights softened. The air warmed. I felt a strange pressure behind my eyes, not painful, just present, like someone had turned the volume knob on my awareness. Her shoulders rose slightly with her breath. Fell. Rose again. You are closer than protocol recommends, she observed. Yeah, I said hoarsely. You too. For a second, neither of us moved. 2 beings standing inside a decision neither of us could take back. Tell me something, she said. Okay. Are you thinking of escape routes? I laughed once, short and sharp. Yeah, all of them. And yet I'm still here. That earned me a long look. Humans are contradictory, she said. You have no idea. Her hand lifted slowly, deliberately, like she was testing gravity itself. Every instinct in me screamed, don't flinch, so I didn't. I stood there, heart-pounding, palms sweating, pretending I was braver than I felt. Her fingers brushed my forearm. Just that. No ceremony, no ritual words. Just skin meeting skin. It felt like static. Not painful, not electric, more like my nerves suddenly remembered they existed. My breath caught involuntarily. The systems reacted instantly. A sharp chime, data surging, the hum deepened again, vibrating through both of us now. Her eyes widened. That response, she started, then stopped. What? I asked. She didn't answer right away. Her fingers were still on my arm, warmer than I expected, steadier than I felt. I can feel your emotional state, she said finally. I stared at her. I'm sorry. That surprised her. Why? She asked. Because it's probably a mess, I said honestly. Fear, doubt, a lot of bad jokes trying to cover it up. Her lips parted slightly. Not in shock, in concentration. I feel noise, she said slowly, but beneath it resolve. Her thumb shifted slightly, a tiny movement that made my pulse jump. You chose this, she said. So did you, I replied. That landed. Her grip tightened for just a moment, reflexive, like she was grounding herself through me. The pressure behind my eyes intensified. Images flashed, not pictures exactly, more like impressions. Endless halls. Endless faces bowing. Silence that followed her everywhere, no matter how crowded the room was. Loneliness. It hit me so hard I staggered half a step. She noticed instantly. What did you sense? I hesitated. This felt dangerous. Honest in a way that could ruin everything. You, I said quietly. Being alone. Her breath caught. That is not. She stopped, closed her eyes, took a slow breath. That is not a word my people use for rulers. But you feel it, I said gently. She didn't pull away. No one, she said, voice low, has ever perceived that. Well, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, congratulations. Guess I'm special. That almost made her smile again. Almost. Another alarm chimed, sharper this time. Emotional synchronization exceeding forecast parameters, as the system warned. Her eyes napped open. The queen returned, focused, alert. They are watching closely now, she said. Can they stop this? I asked. Yes. A beat. But they have not, she added, her gaze softened again, just for me. Which means, she said quietly, they are afraid of what it means if they do. My heart hammered. Not just fear now. Something heavier. Responsibility. She withdrew her hand slowly. The absence felt louder than the contact had. For the next phase, she said, you must understand something. I nodded. This process does not require obedience, she said. It requires consent, continuous, conscious. That word hit me harder than any warning. Okay, I said, then here's mine. I took a breath, felt my hands shaking again. Didn't hide it this time. I'm still scared, I said, but I'm here. And I'm choosing to stay. She looked at me like that mattered. Then she placed her hand over her own chest. She said, choosing not to retreat. The system stabilized, the alarms quieted. The hum settled into something steady and deep. Outside the chamber, unseen eyes leaned closer. Because this was no longer a controlled experiment, it was two beings standing inside a choice, and neither of us was backing away. Something changed after that. Not in the room, not in the systems, in me. It was like a switch flipped somewhere deep in my chest, and suddenly the fear didn't disappear, but it stopped being in charge. It stepped back, let something else take the wheel. The queen must have sensed it because her posture shifted too. Less guarded. Not relaxed, never that, but more present. Like she'd stopped standing on a stage and stepped onto the floor with me. The next phase, she said, will test more than biology. The hum beneath our feet deepened again, slower now, steadier. The circle of light adjusted, narrowing, pulling us closer without physically moving us. I felt it in my spine, like gravity had quietly doubled. What does that mean? I asked. It means, she replied, that if either of us hesitates, the system will know. That sent a ripple of unease through me, so no faking confidence. No, she said. Only truth. I exhaled slowly. Humans are terrible at that. She studied me. You are doing adequately. That made me snort despite myself. High praise. For a heartbeat, just one, the tension eased. Then the systems chimed again, softer this time, almost encouraging, neural emotional interface stabilizing. The synthetic voice announced, proceed when ready. The queen didn't move right away. She looked down at her hands. That alone felt wrong. Rulers don't do that. They don't check themselves. They don't pause before decisions that affect galaxies. Yet here she was, flexing her fingers slightly like she was bracing for cold water. I have never allowed another being this close during a state process, she said. I nodded. Yeah, I figured. In my culture, she continued, proximity implies claim. My chest tightened. On you.
Yes, and on me.
She met my eyes like a reciprocal. That word landed heavy. You should know, she said carefully, that once this proceeds beyond this point, disengagement will not return us to neutrality. I swallowed. My mouth had gone dry again. Some habits don't break easily. What does it return us to? I asked. Her answer was quiet, honest. Connection. The silence that followed felt huge. I thought about Earth, about being human, about how connection is the one thing we chase even when it wrecks us, even when it costs us everything. Okay? I said. My voice wasn't perfectly steady, but it was real. Then let's not pretend this is just science. Something in her expression shifted. Approval, maybe, or relief. She stepped closer, not rushed, not ceremonial, just intentional. Now we were close enough that I could feel the heat of her skin without touching it. Close enough to notice the faint change in her breathing when she realized the same thing. Place your hand here, she said, touching the center of her chest. I hesitated, not because I didn't want to, because suddenly I understood the weight of it. She noticed. Of course she did. This is not command, she said softly, as invitation. That mattered. I lifted my hand. It shook, not badly, but enough that I didn't bother hiding it. Her eyes followed the movement all the way until my palm made contact. The moment I touched her, my knees almost gave out. Not pain, not shock, recognition, like my body went, oh, there you are. The systems reacted instantly. Lights dimmed to a low amber. The hum synchronized with my heartbeat. I felt pressure behind my eyes again, stronger now, but clearer, focused. Her breath hitched. Her hand came up, gripping my forearm reflexively, like she needed the contact to stay upright. I feel, she started, then stopped, visibly steadying herself. What? I asked, barely louder than a whisper. You are not fragmented, she said, confusion threading through her voice. You fear, you doubt, but beneath it you are aligned. I laughed softly. That might be the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Her eyes stayed on my face. It is not praise, it is observation. The connection deepened. I felt her then, not thoughts exactly, but states. The constant awareness of being watched, judged, measured. The pressure of never being allowed to falter, never being allowed to want. It hurt, not physically, emotionally, like secondhand loneliness pressing against my ribs. "You carry everything alone," I said before I could stop myself. Her grip tightened. "I carry my people." She corrected automatically. "But no one carries you," I said. The words hit harder than I meant them to. She closed her eyes. For a terrifying second, I thought I'd broken something, crossed a line I couldn't uncross. Then she exhaled. Slow, shaky. "You should not be able to perceive that," she said. "I don't think I'm supposed to," I replied. "But I do." Her forehead rested briefly against mine. The contact was accidental, and then it wasn't. The system spiked again. Emotional resonance exceeding safety margin, the synthetic voice warned. She didn't pull away, neither did I. "For centuries," she said quietly, "my species believed bonding weakened rulers." Her voice trembled just barely. "I am beginning to suspect it is the opposite." My chest ached. "Not fair now." Something warmer, heavier. If said softly. "If this is too much." She shook her head. "No," she said firmly. "If this gets real," that word, from her. In this place, it nearly undid me. A sharp alert cut through the moment. External interference detected. Council override imminent. Her expression hardened instantly. The Queen returned not as a mask, but as armor. "They are afraid now," she said. "If I asked." She looked at me. "Of what happens when control is no longer the strongest force in the room." The holographic field flickered at the edge of the chamber. Signs of incoming observers, commands, objections. Before they could fully manifest, she tightened her grip on my forearm. "This is where many before me would retreat," she said, "for stability, for optics." Her eyes burned with something fierce. "I will not." The systems responded to her voice, not the council's. Stabilization locked in. The alarms quieted. Outside the chamber, the galaxy held its breath, because this was no longer about breeding, or compatibility, or survival. This was about an alien queen discovering, too late to undo, that choosing a human meant choosing connection. And neither of us was ready to let go. The council arrived without footsteps. 1 second the chamber belonged to us, the hum, the warmth, the quiet understanding humming between two nervous heartbeats, and the next, the air fractured with light. Holographic figures resolved along the perimeter, tall and severe, their forms edged with authority and disbelief. I felt it immediately. The pressure, not physical, political, cultural. The weight of centuries leaning in to say, this was never meant to happen. The Queen didn't release me. That alone sent a ripple through the chamber. I felt it through the systems, through the way the lights flickered as if uncertain who they were meant to obey. "Terminate the sequence," one of the counselors said. Their voice was smooth, practiced, used to being obeyed. "The resonance has exceeded acceptable variance." The Queen's posture straightened, but she didn't step away from me. If anything, she grounded herself more firmly, her grip steady, deliberate. She said, just that, no raised voice, no flourish. A refusal so calm it was terrifying. "Your Majesty." Another voice cut in, sharper now, edged with panic. "This has already gone too far. The data integrity is unprecedented." She interrupted, "Not compromised." I swallowed, suddenly aware of how small I was in this moment. How easy it would be for history to forget my name while tearing her apart for this choice. My instinct screamed to step back, to give her space, to make this easier for her. She sensed it. Her fingers tightened around my arm, not painful, just firm enough to say don't. I stayed. "The human is destabilizing the process," a counselor insisted, eyes fixed on me like I was a malfunctioning device. "Your physiology is responding emotionally. This is not how succession protocols have ever worked." The Queen finished for them. She turned fully toward the council now, still connected to me, still inside the circle of light that pulsed steadily beneath our feet. "And yet," she continued, "the system has not failed." The chamber seemed to agree, read out stabilized. The hum evened out, deep and constant, like a heartbeat refusing to panic. "You built these safeguards," she said. "You programmed these thresholds, and still it holds silence." Then one voice, quieter, "More dangerous, because it is adapting." The word hung there, adapting. That wasn't supposed to happen. The Queen looked back at me then. Just for a second, no crown, no empire. Just a woman who had stepped into something irreversible and refused to pretend otherwise. "Humans adapt," she said calmly. "That is their strength." Her gaze returned to the council, and I am choosing to learn from it. I felt something shift again, not in the room but inside me. A tightening in my chest, a sharp clarity. This wasn't just her standing her ground. This was her claiming it. "Your Majesty." A counselor said, urgency bleeding through now. "If this bond completes, it will set precedent. Others will demand." "Yes," she said. "They will." That stunned him. "They will demand choice," she continued. "Consent, connection." Her voice didn't waver, "and they will be right to do so." The systems chimed, not in warning, but confirmation. Resonance stabilized. The synthetic voice announced, "Compatibility confirmed beyond genetic parameters." Beyond. That word hit like thunder. A murmur rippled through the council projections. Shock, fear. Oh, I felt it then, fully clearly. The connection, not overwhelming anymore, grounded warm, like standing beside someone who wouldn't let you fall, even if the whole universe leaned the other way. The queen exhaled slowly. This concludes the trial phase, she said. One counselor leaned forward. And the outcome? She didn't hesitate. The outcome, she said, is that humanity is no longer an unknown variable. Her hand shifted, still holding me, but now openly, visibly. They are a partner. The silence that followed was absolute. No objections, no overrides. The systems powered down one by one, the hum fading into a gentle quiet. The circle of light beneath us dimmed, then vanished completely. Just a room again. Just two people standing in it. The council projections dissolved, one by one, retreating into whatever corners of history they'd come from. The door remained sealed, but now it didn't feel like a prison. It felt like privacy. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. My legs finally realized they were allowed to shake. I let out a breath I didn't remember holding and laughed weakly. Well, I said, that went better than expected. She turned to me, and for the first time since I'd met her, there was no queen in her eyes at all. Only relief. You stood, she said quietly when retreat would have been safer. I shrugged. Humans are bad at safe. A small, real smile appeared this time. No flicker, no restraint. I am beginning to understand that, she said. She released my arms slowly, like she was making sure the absence wouldn't hurt either of us. It didn't. The connection was still there, quieter now, steadier, chosen. What happens now? I asked. She considered that. Now, she said, the galaxy adjusts. I huffed. No pressure. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. There will be scrutiny. Resistance. Yeah, I said, figured. But, she added, meeting my eyes, there will also be change. Something warm settled in my chest at that. And us? I asked. That question felt bigger than empires. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached out not as protocol, not as experiment, and took my hand. Use, she said softly, began with honesty. Her thumb brushed my knuckles, just once. And honesty? She continued, it's not a phase. I nodded, throat tight. Good, because I'm not great at pretending. Her smile widened just a little. Neither? She said. Am I? The door finally opened with a soft chime, light spilling into the chamber. A path forward, uncertain, complicated, real. As we stepped toward it together, I understood why everyone had been so shocked. Not because an alien queen tried human breeding for the first time, but because she discovered something far more dangerous than compatibility. She discovered choice, and she chose humanity with her eyes open.